1 month from today, and it is getting nasty, people. All right, so this is a very strange story, but it's a very prototypical story of kind of the content age in which we live in. So the two candidates running are Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and State Representative James Telerico. Okay. On Monday, a TikToker reported that in a one-on-one conversation with the TikToker, Telerico had suggested that a third person, Colin Allred, former member of Congress, former NFL player, and the guy who ran in 2024 for the U.S. Senate against Ted Cruz and lost, that the TikToker said that Telerico said, I know it's a game of telephone, that Allred was a mediocre black man. Mediocre black man. Okay. Allred is African-American, as is Crockett. Telerico is white. This set off an absolutely massive back and forth. Telerico issued a statement. Crockett sounded off. Allred got really into it. I mean, a whole thing, it just looks super nasty and super ugly, and I think could complicate efforts to unify the party in a seat that Democrats may actually have a chance of winning. I want to talk about all of that because it's a fascinating story in a primary that's coming up on March 3rd with really big national implications. Let's get into it. Before I do that, quickly want to say, I hope that you become a subscriber to this channel if you're not already. I am independent, I am authentic, and I am here every day breaking down the big political stories you need to know about. All right, so just to set the stage, this is the seat John Cornyn currently holds. It is up in 2026. The primary is March the 3rd. On the Republican side, there's a three-way primary between Cornyn, MAGA-friendly State Attorney General Ken Paxton, and a congressman named Wesley Hunt. And I'll talk about that at the end of this video. But let's focus on the Democratic side. So originally, the race was Colin Allred. He had gotten into the race. Again, he was a member of Congress. He had played in the NFL as a linebacker. He had raised a ton of money against Ted Cruz, and he had lost pretty convincingly to Cruz in 2024. Well, James Telerico gets in the race. And this Telerico is he's in his 30s, guy who's very talks about religion and the Democratic Party in ways that other people don't. He's on Joe Rogan's podcast. He kind of goes viral. He becomes a sensation. He gets in the race. Then Jasmine Crockett, who is a new member of Congress. This is her second term, but she's really become very high profile by being willing to attack Donald Trump and Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, in very personal terms. She gets in the race. Allred gets out of the race. Okay. So that's where we've been. And the assumption here is that this race is pretty close with a month left. There's been some polling. A little bit has shown, Telerico ahead by high single digits. Most of it's shown the race to be close, but it's largely been a pretty calm race to this point. Like Crockett and Telerico are both running, but they're not sort of attacking each other all that much. Okay, so as I said, on Monday, this TikToker says that Telerico told the TikToker that Allred was a mediocre black man. Okay, Allred, who's running for the House again. He's not running for the Senate. He drops out of the Senate race. He's running for the House. He gets on Twitter, X, and he's very unhappy. He says, I've just finished working out. There's steam coming off my head. There's some steam coming out of my ears too. And he says this: if you want to compliment black women, just do it. Don't do it while also tearing down a black man. Okay. We've seen that play before. We're sick and tired of it. We're tired of folks using praise for black women to mask criticism for black men. That's not good for our community. The argument I think was that Telerico may have been making was that Crockett is a more gifted candidate than Allred, because Telerico comes out and he says, I did not call Colin Allred a mediocre black man. He says, quote, in my praise of Congresswoman Crockett, I described Congressman Allred's method of campaigning as mediocre, but his life and service are not. I would never attack him on the basis of race. Telerico went on to add that his, quote, critique of the congressman's campaign could be interpreted given this country's painful legacy of racism, and I care deeply about the impact my words have on others. I have always said that despite our disagreements, I deeply respect Congressman Allred. We're all on the same team. Okay, so what Telerico is saying is, this is a misunderstanding. I said that Allred was not a particularly good candidate, not that he's a mediocre black man. I will say that Allred did not run a great campaign in 2024. Now, it wound up being a good year for Republicans, obviously. Donald Trump gets elected again. Ted Cruz wins going away. So I'm not sure even if Allred had run an amazing campaign for Senate, he would have won. But that knock is one I've heard, not associated with the race stuff, but just one I've heard, that Allred didn't run a great campaign. Allred has endorsed Jasmine Crockett, and Crockett chose to sound off about all of this with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram editorial board. She said this, quote, "I definitely don't think there's anything mediocre about Colin Allred. It's kind of hard to become the Democratic nominee for Senate in the state of Texas, and he had a primary as well, and he went up against the sitting state senator, so he was put through the ringer." She praises him. She says, as someone who's known him for years, I know that he felt like it was his responsibility to speak up for himself and speak up for other black men. Now, she did say she's never heard Telerico, quote, say anything racial. So she did not amp it up all that much. She just sort of said, like, I respect Colin Allred, and I've never heard James Telerico say anything bad. Let's see where this goes. But I will say this playing out and race being injected into this when you have a young white guy and a young woman, African-American woman, is not necessarily what Democrats want, right? They do not want this going back and forth. And this isn't the first time that we've seen controversy in this race, I will say. Bowen Yang, the comedian on SNL, made kind of an offhand comment, essentially saying like, oh, Crockett's not going to win. Don't give her money because she can't win the general election. Much umbrage was taken at that. Yang issued an apology that he didn't mean to disrespect black women. So race is in this race. Right? I mean, it just is, whether you want it to be or not. And again, the primary is in 1 month. And there are lots of national strategists on the Democratic side who are worried about Jasmine Crockett being the nominee. They think Telerico, for whatever reason, whether it's that she's a high profile critic of Trump, whether she's a black woman, I don't know. Whether it's all those things, I honestly don't know. But there are concerns that she cannot win a general election, and it might be Democrats losing their best chance of winning a seat in Texas that they've had in decades. Let me quickly, as I said I would, talk about the Republican side of the aisle, because that matters too. Right now, I think that Ken Paxton, who is the arch MAGA conservative attorney general, is the favorite to eventually be the nominee. I think for the Republicans, I think what's going to happen is you have 3 candidates, Cornyn, Paxton, and then Wesley Hunt. Hunt is going to finish third, I think, in the race, but he's going to get enough of the vote on March 3rd in the primary that it will go to a 6-week or 2-month runoff. That is likely to be between Cornyn and Paxton, a one-on-one race. I worry, if I'm a Cornyn person, that Cornyn can't win that race. Paxton is the much more kind of Trump-aligned candidate in the race, tonally at least. Cornyn is a conservative. He's just more sober. He's not as Trumpified. Now, Trump has said recently, this past weekend, that he might rethink his decision not to endorse in the race. Now, I would assume that is a good thing for Cornyn, because, Cornyn is in theory, the more electable candidate here. But I will say, if Republicans choose Paxton, and that gives Democrats a real chance, given the way the national wind is blowing, a real chance. It's not a 50-50 chance, not even a 40% chance. It's probably less than a 30% chance, but a real chance to win this race. And I think what you're seeing going to play out in the next month is, how much does race matter in the Democratic primary race? And then how much would it matter in the general election, right? You've had it injected now with these comments. Telerico said he didn't say mediocre black man. He just said Colin Allred was a mediocre candidate. How much does that play out over the next month? Is this a little thing, a blip that goes up and down and nobody talks about it again? Or is it a defining characteristic of the final month of the race? And then who is the Democratic nominee? Is it Telerico or is it Crockett? And does that impact the party's chances of winning what could well be a once in a generation chance, if Paxton is the nominee, to steal a Republican seat in a Republican state. All right, that's it for me. As always, thank you. If you are a subscriber already, independent, authentic, every day I'm here. If you're not, I hope those things make you a subscriber. I also hope that you like and comment on this video. That helps me grow my Substack community, as well as reach people who haven't been subscribers or aren't subscribers yet. Be an evangelist for me if you can. Tell a few people about what I'm building. And I don't mention this enough, and I need to. I have a paid subscription tier called the Diamond Club. It's $6.99 a month. If you like these videos, you get more. You get these videos plus. You get a video every week of my podcast with former NBC anchor Chuck Todd. You get a video every Friday in which I pick the worst person who had the worst week in Washington. And you also get one or two other conversations I have through the week that I post for members of my Diamond Club. So check it out in the memberships tab if you haven't. Okay, everyone, take care.